teşekkür. Assalamu alaikum. I'm gonna start with English. Then I can say the same thing in Turkish, and I will encourage you, after I talk briefly, I will encourage you, if you have any question about language in general or mother tongue, you can just go ahead and ask me, and I will put a few minutes to answer you to the best of my ability. I congratulate you guys on 21st of February, the International Mother Language Day. Ms. Irina Bakova, who's the head of the UNESCO, also congratulated this in the note that I was reading today, and she was mentioning, Ms. Irina, that this is not this problem of people not being allowed to speak in their own language or get education in their own language. It's not just certain areas of the world or certain countries. She mentions 40% of world population of 2 or 3 billion, they are not allowed to have education in their own language. That's a tragedy for human civilization and what we want to achieve as civil society. It means we have a long way to go for what we want as ideal societies of anybody to be free, to get education and educate their own children in their own language. Ms. Irina Bokova, the head of the UNESCO, also in her note that's accessible in the internet, mentions Iran as one of the culprits of this tragedy. That in Iran, almost 70% of population who are non-Persian, they have to go to school and study in a different language. The problem is that they are not studying the language, they're studying the education that they are getting in different language. So when they go to school, when a 6-year-old or 7-year-old is going to school, they're not going to learn Persian there. They're going to get education in Persian. That's a shock, education-wise. So if you put a kid to a school to learn any language, that's good. You can learn any language, and that's good for you, maybe. But to study education in a different language, this is another issue that I want to touch upon, and I hope you understand what I mean. After this, I want to tell you that I come with my studies about language, and in the root of language. What is language? What is how humans started thinking, and how humans started putting that in words, and what we talk, what we mean as language. In my studies, I myself came to understanding, and I came up with an idea that I named it language of vulnerability. You will not find this term and this terminology in the internet because I came up with it. It's called language of vulnerability. I wrote some ideas concerning this, and I will accomplish it someday, and I will put it as an idea. So what is language of vulnerability? Everybody knows what vulnerability is. It means the thing that makes you vulnerable. So how come language can make you vulnerable? I'll tell you. In our sayings in English or in any language, in Turkish and Arabic, you hear saying that one language is one person. When you speak one language, you're like a one person. If you can speak another language, means you're almost like two people, because you can represent yourself in a different situation, in different society, in a different language. It means almost you're like two people. And the third, and so on. This is, everybody knows. And everybody thinks learning a language and knowing another language other than mother tongue is an education. It's a superiority towards, compared to others. Like, oh, this person knows 5 languages. That's one of the things that people will boast about. Oh, this person knows different languages more. So that is considered as something positive. Let's think that's positive. But think about this. Now I'm going to talk about how learning language or knowing another language other than your mother tongue will actually make you vulnerable. Think about it. If you know just English, you're exposed to, let's say, a person who's in Canada, who's born here, and whose first language is English, let's say. He's exposed to English newspapers, he's exposed to English TV, and English books, and English media, and all the literature and everything that's available in English. And let's say that's either Canadian authors or English authors from US and from England, and so on. So that person, in his own mother tongue, will study these and will get educated and will get rich with all the history and knowledge in English, and he or she will feel this both emotionally, because language is not just mathematical thing, it's also emotional thing, both emotionally, both in the business, both in the economy, both in the culture, and everything in English. Think about, now, this is safe so far, you're not vulnerable, but think about if you learn Russian. If this person that we assume he knows Russian or she knows Russian, from the day that she can read and study and learn and understand Russian, she or he will be exposed to Russian media, Russian newspaper. I'm just bringing Russian and English as an example, by the way. So she or he will be exposed to Russian media, Russian newspapers, Russian TV, and all Russian literature, Russian philosophy, and Russian way of thinking. Because language represents way of thinking, because thinking comes before language. Language is very new in human evolution. Thinking is far before that. So we're not going to go there. We're going to go back to how it makes you vulnerable. So the person who knows another language, he can easily get infected with the ideologies and way of thinking filtered from Russian language. That's how you become vulnerable. So I can just bring this to home, this idea. If you are Turk in city that I was born, Maraha, and you get education in your own language, and you get education and you turn on the TV, it's in your language. You get newspaper in your language, everybody, and you can get education and science and knowledge in that language. From the way of Turkish thinking, from the culture and the background and history of Turkish way of thinking. Because language and again thinking is very old, and it's embedded in the history of that nation. So Turkish way of thinking is in that language, and you learn with all the expressions, all the idioms, all the emotions and feelings of Turkish. Think about this person is introduced to Persian language or any other language. From that day, he can listen to Persian radio. He can listen, watch the Persian TV, read Persian newspapers, read the literature and poetry and stuff. So what's going to happen? He is now vulnerable to the ideas, to the way of thinking that's coming from Persian way of thinking. And that person, even though if he thinks or she thinks he is a knowledgeable person, if he's an academic, or if she or he thinks he's higher in echelon of the society because he speaks 2 languages, because he speaks another language, so he's like almost like 2 people. Actually, it's not. He will act. People, they call these people like enlightened people. So he will act as virus in his own society and his own people, because he will infect others with the ideas he got from Persian filtered language to his mind. So I hope I did not confuse you with the way I explained, and I hope I could explain what I tried to say. I'm going to stop here and try to explain this in Turkish, and after that, anybody, I would encourage, if you have a question about language in general or mother tongue specifically, you can just ask me and I will try to answer. Mən bunu demək istədim ki, bir nəfər ki, öz dilində dərs oxuyur, öz dilində televizyona baxır, öz dilində qazet oxuyur, yaz oxuyur, hər şey öz dilindədir. O, öz kültüründən, öz tarixindən, öz bilincindən, öz alt bilincindən gələn və ata-babalarından, o torpaqda ki, coğrafidən, o torpaqdakı olan hadisələrdən gələn düşüncələr onun öz dilində, onun beyninə gəlir, o bir dənə insan kimi orada camiada yaşayır. Bu bir ayrı dil biləndən sonra. Ona görə deyirik, bu savunmasızlıq dili. The language of vulnerability. O dil sizi necə savunmasız edir? Sizi açıq bırakır, savunmasız bırakır o biri dildən, o biri kültürdən gələn düşüncələr. İlzamen pis deyil o biri dildən gələn şey. Çünki onlar da insandılar, onlar da başqa millətlər. Ancaq çünki onlar ayrı coğrafiyada yaşayırlar. Onların milli mənfəətləri sizin milli mənfəətlərinizdən fərqli olduğuna görə o sizə zərərdir. Yoxsa ilzamen heç bir millətin kültürü, dili, heç biri bir-birindən üstün də deyil, yaxşı da deyil, pis də deyil. Ancaq, çünki coğrafi məntəqələrdə insanlar yaşayır, məcburən, millətlər, ona görə bir millətin, bir məntəqədə yaşadığının milli mənfəətləri o biri millətin, o biri ayrı məntəqədə yaşadığı milli mənfəətlərdən fərqli olduğuna görə, çünki onların ya milli mənfəətləri qazanılacaq, ya sizinki. Ona görə oradan gələn ideyalar sizi infakt edir, sizi xəstə edir, o ikinci dil bilən. Və ona görədir ki, görürsünüz ki, mollalar gələrlər mənbərə çıxandan sonra, öncə biraz ərəbcə bağdur elərlər. Filan deyərlər, ondan sonra onu deyərlər, indi bu nə dedim, mən bunun türkçəsini sizə deyim və ya farsçası. Və ya məsələn akademiklər. Və ya özlərini aydın sayanlar, məsələn, roşənfik deyək, farsçası bilirsiniz ki, aydın sayanlar. O aydın sayanlar özlərini, roşənfik yerinə özlərini qoyanlar da görərsiniz ki, danışanda, ay filan Rus düşünür, böyle deyibdir. Filan İngiliz düşünür, böyle deyibdir. Filan Frans və ya Alman düşünür. Yəni, onların düşüncələrini getirir. Onları deyir, hətta bəzilərdə şücaətləri var ki, məsələn, İngilizcə, Fransızca onu deyərlər, sonra onu sizə tərcümə edirlər, onun ideyası budur. Halbuki yerli düşüncə, o millətin öz düşüncəsi, o torpaqda becərən, gəlişən kültür. Kültür nə demək? Yəni, bir şeyi əkirsən özü çıxır. Yəni, əkim. O torpaqdan çıxan əkimi yox. Onu xarab edir. Aynı global kimin ki, gəlir sənin torpağında əkəm edir. Əhmədlə mənim dediyimə çıxacaqsa. Məsələn, Kubada gətirib şəkər əkməklər kimi və ya başqa məmləkətlərə necə qoluldu, bənk duyurdu ki, siz filan şey əhminin torpaqlarında filan şey əkəcəksiniz. Aynı şey olur. Sizin kültür aradan gedir, o xaricdən gələn kültür üçün egzotik göründüyünə görə sizin millətinizə qalib gəlir və milli mənfəətlər orada göz ardı olunur. Ona görə bu düşüncənin adını mən qoymuşam, savunmasızlıq dili. İnşallah ki bunu, o yazısını da bitirəcəm bir gün görərsiniz deyildi. Mənim sözüm burada bitir, ancaq hər kəsin bu konuda və ya genəldə dil konusunda və ya özəldə ana dili konusunda bir sorusu varsa, buyurun, mən hər kəsə xahiş edirəm, istəyirəm, buyurun.